Armin Navabi joins me now. Armin, so good to have you. Thank you. Let's see. There's a handful of things I want your take on from on the ground. But first of all, this IRGC threat to cut off internet. What's your take on this? How serious is that?
Well, it is serious to the countries around the Persian Gulf, but it shows how desperate the Islamic Republic is because they can't actually do damage to the people who they're fighting against, which is the Americans and the Israelis. So they're so desperate that they have to threaten the Arab countries around the Persian Gulf, which is so far it has backfired because they are now lobbying the United States to go for full regime change, given that the Islamic Republic has proven to be such a threat to their business model, especially the UAE. Even if the Islamic Republic survives this, even if all of these military operations stops, nobody is going to look at the UAE the same way before that they looked at before. So every form of investment or trade or tourism to UAEs, that whole business model is now being threatened. So every single attack against these countries is going to make these countries more determined to lobby the United States to just finish the job completely with the Islamic Republic. And I don't know what this is just their sign of desperation because they have it just shows how very little leverage they have against the United States.
What is the understanding on the ground as to who's actually leading these negotiations? Because I know we've talked about this before. You have the IRGC leadership, you have other factions. Unclear who's actually winning this race behind the scenes.
So we have Ghalibaf, we have Vahidi as the head of the IRGC, we have Zulqadr as the head of the Supreme Security Council, we have Abdullahi as the head of the Khatamul Anbiya, part of the IRGC, we have Nejat as the head of Sarullah, we have Musavi as the head of the guy in charge of the missiles and drones. So the most important right now are Vahidi, Ghalibaf, and Zulqadr. And honestly, I don't think even the Islamic Republic really knows who's in charge because there's technically nobody is in charge. Everybody has their own level of influence and they're competing against each other. Mujtaba is nowhere to be seen, and Mujtaba is the only source for Ghalibaf's influence right now, him claiming that Mujtaba Khamenei is endorsing whatever he's doing. I think he's making that up, but that's the only reason why he has any influence right now. But this is a power struggle, and this is why President Trump's ceasefire and the blockade is working very well. I think the Islamic Republic prefers actually fighting in the battlefield rather than the negotiating table because the pro-regime people actually become more united in the middle of the battlefield. There is no rally around the flag effect, unlike what many Western commentators will tell you. The vast majority of the Iranian people will always be against the regime, because especially after what they experienced in early January. But in the middle of a battlefield, if you're actually fighting, it does unite that 5%, maybe less than 5% pro-regime people. It does unite them, and the ceasefire and the blockade is actually dividing them and is turning them against each other. And that's why the blockade and the ceasefire is working very well so far. It's actually a very efficient, less costly way for President Trump to harm them without the cost of the military operation and without the risking American lives. It saves President Trump prefers this method because it saves the infrastructure of the Iranian people for the Iranian people. And if it's turning the regime against itself, then why stop? Why give an excuse for a unity with the regime followers? Why stop them when they're fighting against each other? So, and it's also it's really getting them really close to complete bankruptcy very soon if it's successful.
Well, certainly the window of time for Iran to hold out, the regime to hold out here, is closing. But I wanted to raise another item that just came out in the last few hours. President Trump took to Truth Social, and he's been advocating for a few days now for the regime to put off the execution of 8 Iranian women protesters. He reposted a picture of all of them, urging the regime to cease their plans to execute these women. And he posted earlier today, good news, I have just been informed the 8 women protesters who are going to be executed tonight in Iran will no longer be killed. Do we know that for sure?
We don't know that for sure, but the fact that these women are now, like, we know that President Trump has saved these women for now. It's possible that the Islamic Republic might want to execute them later, but it is true that President Trump so far has saved these women's lives, and it shows that President Trump is concerned about the Iranian people. Nobody is like other people are not paying attention to the suffering of the Iranian people, and President Trump brings the attention of world media back to it every single time. And by President Trump talking about these women, he's not just saving these women's lives, he's bringing the attention to the brutality of the Islamic Republic as a whole. So many people so many people talk about everybody except the Iranian people and their suffering, and President Trump does a really good job bringing the attention back to that. But every time he highlights that, like, it's really easy to dismiss the Iranian people because they're not armed. Everybody else, like Americans, are armed, Israelis are armed, Hashd al-Shabi is armed, Hezbollah is armed, so they're always part of the conversation. But it's really easy for people to just forget the Iranian people, and we're just so grateful to President Trump with bringing the attention back to them, which is also a reminder for how ridiculous it is for people to suggest that President Trump wanted to do a genocide upon the Iranian people because of the comment he made regarding ending the civilization. It's very obvious he was talking about the Islamic regime, given how much concerned he is about these 8 women and how much he's trying to avoid destroying the infrastructure. It does show that President Trump does care about the Iranian people and wants to find a way to do all of this without hurting them.
Everyone's on pins and needles, awaiting what happens in the next chapters, who emerges as the faces of who we are negotiating with. But at least in terms of these 8 women, it's to your point, President Trump is talking about them, and he may well have saved their lives. Armin Navabi, thank you very much for the time. We appreciate it.
One last thing is that we need to continue talking about these women, because the only reason why the Islamic Republic has not executed them is because the international attention. But if the international attention stops, they might get executed. So just want to say, continue talking about them. And thank you, President Trump. And thank you for having me.
Coming up, we continue to highlight the danger that is our highways and the tragedies caused by illegal CDL holders. Now that the Trump administration is zeroing in on it, it's the states that need to step up. What next? FMCSA Administrator Derek Bars joins me in studio. We'll be right back.